Breaking news, everybody! Scott replayed another Mario game, i.e., it's Wednesday. Yeah, I just recently rolled the credits on Super Mario Odyssey again for the first time in quite a while. You know, I played through it first, like when the game initially launched. And then I actually went through it again, like a couple of months later. You know, that's when I got, a new gameplay capture setup. So, I was like, all right, well, I didn't capture the game good enough the first time. So, hey, let's get it this time. And that was like sometime in 2018. So, I mean, since then, like, I've kind of dabbled in it here and there. Maybe if I need to jump in, get some footage. Maybe I try to go to my initial save file and chip away at that, try to get, like, as many power moons as possible. But for the most part, I've kind of stayed away from Mario Odyssey, primarily because throughout the entire Nintendo Switch lifespan, I was kind of thinking, like, damn, I would really like to experience Mario Odyssey again. I'd really love to replay it, but any second now, a Mario Odyssey 2 is gonna get revealed. This felt like a no-brainer to get kind of the Mario Galaxy to Mario Galaxy 2 treatment. I mean, just everything they did with this game, it felt like it was just barely scratching the surface with the potential of, like, Mario's movement, the capture mechanic, the idea of going to all these different kingdoms. So, I mean, I remember even before this game released and, in the coming months after its launch, there was all this speculation on other kingdoms that could have been in the game, DLC that could get added. A big part was like, oh man, would like Isle Delfino from Mario Sunshine appear? There's like this map that you see for the entire world in Mario Odyssey, and it's shown not only in the game, but it was shown via all these advertisements, and you can also, kind of see some of the landforms on the globe in the game. You'd see this little dolphin shape on the map, and it was kind of like, okay, well, the Mushroom Kingdoms in Mario Odyssey, surely Isle Delfino must be in there. Well, here I am nearly a decade later talking about how I finally revisited the game because nothing goddamn happened that entire time. So, might as well, I was just dicking around. Primarily, I've been trying to get in like maybe like an hour or so a day riding the stationary bike I have down here, and something I try to do to kind of pass the time a little easier is, play some games and capture some gameplay footage. Also throw on like a super long podcast or a YouTube video or something. So, man, like, I'm doing all these things at once. Multitasking, baby. That's what we call that in this house. Scientists call it a problem focusing on just one thing. But I was looking for a game to play that is good to play while you're on a bike. So, like something that I know how to play very well. I don't need to have the audio up crazy loud or anything. Like I know it well. I don't need to focus that hard on it. And while I already had gameplay footage of Mario Odyssey, because you see, I have this giant archive of gameplay footage. A lot of the videos I produce, like I need B-roll of gameplay from all different kinds of games. So, it's good to just have basically every game I've ever played recorded. But the Mario Odyssey gameplay I recorded like back in 2018, there's something weird about it where like it's a little desaturated. So I just thought, you know what? Why the hell not? I'm gonna replay Mario Odyssey, get some crispier footage of it. And actually, the first time I tried to do this, see, I have this walking pad, which, you're gonna get a little more action out of a walking pad, especially if it's going at a higher speed. You're moving your arms a lot more, you're moving your legs in a more natural way. And I thought Mario Odyssey must be a perfect game to walk and play to. I'll play with detached Joy-Cons and I can move my arms around. Alright, horrible idea. So, I didn't look this up, but I'm fairly certain you cannot turn off motion controls in this game. There's an option to do so in the menu. It will say like, hey, do you want to use motion controls on or off? And I said off. That doesn't disable any movement of the Joy-Con being used to fling Cappy around in this game. So then what the hell does that mean? Well, it turns off motion controls for something like, like let's say you capture that tank thing in Mario Odyssey, and it disables the use of gyro when you're kind of aiming with that thing. which is very subtle, firstly. Like, it's not a big deal at all. I don't know. It was dumb. Why is that the only thing that I can turn motion controls off for? But I just gave up. I went back to the bike, and I played with the Pro Controller. The gameplay I got first revisiting Mario Odyssey, like the first hour, that is some of the worst gameplay I've ever gotten. And if you've seen any videos I produce, you've seen my gameplay before. That's saying something. I just decided to restart my whole save file. I played on the bike with the Pro Controller. All right. This is my Mario Odyssey revisit experience. It's a good game. Who would have thought? I think it's just kind of interesting because these days, I definitely see more critics of Odyssey. I don't really think anybody's calling it a bad game per se. Rather, a lot of people are kind of saying how it's just like, oh yeah, this isn't, you know, this wasn't really as good as I thought it was, or maybe not exactly the kind of Mario game I wanted. And all of that. I've seen a lot of people criticizing the amount of power moons in this game, how pretty much all of the power moon missions are lame as dirt. A lot of them are repeated amongst all of the kingdoms. Pretty much every kingdom has like a good handful of the exact same power moon things that you do across all of the game. Oh, kick a rock around, grab a rabbit, find Captain Toad, herd some sheep, do the musical note thing, you know, like there's a bunch of repeat things across the whole game. And on top of that, barely any of the missions really have kind of the same, like, I guess, girth as Mario 64 or Sunshine or Galaxy's missions to get, you know, the power stars or shines. I mean, there's hundreds and hundreds of power moons in this game. Like, it gets to the point where, yeah, Odyssey almost does feel like more quantity over quality, but I have a counter to that. This game is set up differently. It's structured completely differently compared to Mario 64, Sunshine, and Galaxy. It's obviously still like a sandbox 3D Mario, and like when this game was first announced, they showed this graphic that detailed that, like, okay, Mario 64 and Sunshine are sandbox, open, exploratory 3D Marios, while Galaxy 2, 3D Land, 3D World, those are linear, course clear 3D Marios. Which is great to see at the time because Odyssey was sort of like a response to this ongoing just overall apathy a lot of fans were feeling towards the mainline 3D Marios at that time. The 2D ones as well, you know, everything just felt kind of bland at the end of the day. Still incredibly high quality, but very bland. You know, we hadn't gotten a more open, exploratory 3D Mario game since Sunshine. Galaxy had a couple little elements here and there, but for the most part, it was like a very, you know, straightforward linear journey. So that was really damn cool to see that Odyssey was following in those footsteps. And, you know, upon playing it, it's very obvious that they really went for sandbox and exploration. Like, that was like their big MO with this game. You know, upon my revisit, I just unlocked the Mushroom Kingdom, and obviously that kingdom is one of the biggest in the entire game, which is a really cool part of this game's post-game, is just getting that, like, huge nugget of content there. And not only is it, like, fun to just go through that, but, you know, it's a huge bit of fan service. And, you know, it feels like it's really taking a lot of those feelings of playing something like Mario 64 as a kid, where, honestly, a lot of my favorite memories of Mario 64 isn't necessarily going for the power stars. It was kind of just exploring the level and just having fun, jumping around, seeing everything I could find, you know, finding every nook and cranny in that level. And honestly, feels like it makes a game around that, and it rewards you for exploring with more power moons. So power moons are more so just like, they're just scattered all over the place. And the fact that you don't get kicked back or anything via most power moons like you would getting a star in 64, I think that obviously does show, like, you know, the power moons and power stars are built differently. So yeah, like, I'm not gonna defend the fucking third moon that you get for shoving your beak in a hole in Bowser's Kingdom, but, like, am I supposed to? Am I supposed to really remember that moon? Like, no. There isn't really a ton of individual power moons that are necessarily, like, memorable in Mario Odyssey. You know, they're all kind of just vehicles to get you to explore the environment more and more. And I think they succeed at that. that. I don't think it's fair to compare the missions in Mario 64 to the, in quotes, missions in Mario Odyssey, because they really, like, are these really missions? They're two different things, which brings me to how I remember some people kind of comparing Odyssey to, you know, previous Mario games, and also being like, oh man, Odyssey doesn't kick you out of the level when you get a power moon. I really wish they would do that in like 64 or Sunshine or Galaxy. And I'm like, sure, but again, it's different. 64, yeah, yeah, you can make your argument for that. But games like Sunshine and Galaxy, I don't know, I think they're structured in a certain way where, sure, you could probably make it work via like some missions, but for the most part, like, I don't know, I think it's fine. Now, Galaxy 2, the post-game of Galaxy 2 specifically, holy crap. They're like harder to find power stars. There's 120 of them in the post game of Mario Galaxy 2. They're hard to find. They make like a very faint sound when you're nearby them, and then it kicks you out when you get them. These aren't like normal power stars. There isn't like this huge mission to nab them or anything. They're basically hidden collectibles. Like you have to try and find them in each level. That one, they should have acted more like power moons or how green stars are in like Mario 3D World. But as it stands, I have absolutely no problem with Mario Odyssey's structure because it's Mario Odyssey's structure. It works for what this game is setting out to do. This game is supposed to be a giant exploratory platformer, and yeah, it feels good, and that's the biggest thing. Like, this game feels really damn good. This is the smoothest Mario control in any game. It feels phenomenal to move around as Mario. And throwing Cappy and a lot of the things you can do with that is just such a nice extension of his moveset. Now, I will say, while Mario has really good movement in this game, I find myself doing the exact same movement over and over and over again. It's you throw Cappy, and then you dive onto Cappy, and then you get some extra distance, some extra height, and then I throw Cappy again, and then I dive again. I can't tell you how many times I did that on this playthrough. It was ridiculous. Almost got a little too much at some point where I'm just like, wow, is this all I'm doing? Like, Mario has a pretty wild moveset in this game, but how much am I actually using it? Kind of just doing the same move over and over again. There's a bunch of extra stuff you can do with the motion controls, but you know, that's kind of like one of the lamer parts about this game is the fact that there's a bunch of extra things you can do. You just are forced to do them with motion control, or they are kind of designed around motion control a little bit more. So even something as simple as like, okay, you know, throwing Cappy and having him circle around Mario. The motion to do that is kind of like, you know, like taking both the Joy-Con and kind of flicking them to the side there. Or you can throw Cappy up by flicking the controllers up. And you can do like some of this stuff with like a normal Pro controller. But it just feels like they didn't consider that. They just desperately wanted you to play with two separate Joy-Con. And I gotta be honest, no, I don't think this game feels the greatest with two separate Joy-Con and flicking one of them to throw Cappy. It's fine, but I just find this game to play better by just hitting the Y button to throw Cappy. But it's just like such a Nintendo thing with Mario Odyssey. The fact that they add all this cool stuff that you can do as a player, but so much of it requires motion control for no reason, it's ridiculous. I mean, even a lot of the captures you can get in this game, you know, like when you capture an enemy, you know, you can often do like 1 or 2 actions, but then you can often do a third action or a more powerful action by using motion control, shaking the controller as you're doing something. I'm like, what is this doing? What are we doing here? What is this adding? That does bring us to the capture mechanic, which is really cute. When it was first revealed at E3 2017, it seemed like this incredible, like, oh my god, this game is the ultimate video game. This is insane. And it still is really impressive. There's a lot of cool things, but I feel like that trailer almost made it seem like Hell, I mean, you could play the whole damn game as a bullet bill if you wanted to. You know, it's definitely based on the environment you're in, and you know, like, they design the environment around, like, okay, like, you know, here, you're gonna want to be able to blow up a wall with a bullet bill, or here, you're gonna want to stack up a bunch of Goombas. You know, it's smart, and it's a fun evolution of kind of the idea of Mario power-ups. You know, I think it's very interesting how Mario power-ups often change based on each game and how they want to do them. You know, sometimes, you know, power-ups are kind of like how they are in the 2D game, where they just genuinely power you up. Whereas with the 3D games, a lot of them, like this, and even like Mario 64, Mario Galaxy, they're often timed and only really give you like an ability that kind of lets you progress in the level. Like, oh yeah, now I can finally get past this area. The luster of that gimmick has definitely kind of worn off, but it was really cool at the time, and I still think it's a very cute and fun idea. But that's just the thing with Mario Odyssey. I think like one of the things I really like about this game the most is that everything kind of comes together in many ways. Not everything, but you know, it just feels like there's a bunch of really good ideas that the developers had with this game, and a lot of them really kind of helped play into each other, and it's just so creative and it feels so good. I mean, even like basic stuff like, you know, like the ending of the game, comparing it to the beginning of the game. You know, there's so many parallels between the two. The fact that both at the beginning and the end, Mario's passed out on the ground and you have to wake him up with a jump. They incorporate some of your very first captures, like, you know, the very first capture you do in Mario Odyssey is a frog and he's hiding behind the castle, you know, before the final boss. Or, you know, the next capture you do after that, one of those like electrical pole things, and you know, that's the last thing that you do in the game. You know, like, you know, when that thing happened in the Cap Kingdom, that's where the title appeared, and then at the very end, you know, right before basically the credits hit, you know, that's one of the last things that you do. You know, the fact that they give you the new power of throwing Mario's hat, but then it also becomes something where, oh, the hat overtakes enemies and then you can control them. But then, oh, hats are a big thing, so now let's have a bunch of costumes in the game, which all makes sense because, oh man, you're a tourist, you're going to all these different kingdoms. And oh, well, that makes sense, and especially the fashion style makes sense because, oh, Bowser's planning a wedding, and he's going to all these different kingdoms to grab stuff for the wedding. Like, it's just, it all comes together in obviously a very goofy and silly way. And just the fact that, I mean, even just the fact that you're collecting power moons in the game. You know, stars in Mario 64 and Galaxy, suns, you know, that's what the shine was in Mario Sunshine, and then moons in this game. So it's like, okay, well then that's what our collectible here is. But then the moon is a big element of this. And then Bowser's like wedding planning party are a bunch of rabbits. And there's kind of like a lot of folklore about rabbits being associated with the moon. So it's just a lot of things just end up kind of playing together creatively with Mario Odyssey that I think just makes this game feel very refined and very fun to just experience. It's just something where, like, when you're playing it, it's just like, oh, this is a blast. This is really cool, especially considering the fact that, like, it is really fun when, like, a Mario game kind of takes itself a little more seriously. Not saying that this game takes itself all too seriously, but it's just kind of nice to have kind of like this thing that you are going to do. Like, things are happening and you have a goal that isn't just beat the game, oh, save the princess, that's it. Like, yeah, fundamentally that is the goal of this game. However, there's all those things surrounding it, you know? Like, Mario games prior to this, for the most part, they kind of just simplified things to the bare minimum. You know, we just got through a bunch of new Super Mario Brothers games, Mario 3D Land and 3D World. Mario Galaxy 2 simplified the hell out of its plot. So getting Odyssey, which didn't really change things that much, it just more so added more context to what the hell was going on and just incorporated all different parts of like Mario lore and fan service into the game. I mean, the damn Tanuki tree from 3D Land is in the Mushroom Kingdom in this game. They have Toadette in the game. Like, what the fuck is Toadette doing here? That's a Mario Kart character. It was just, it's just very cool. You know, like this is a very enjoyable experience. However, let me talk about some things I didn't really like about the game. Okay. You know what? To be honest, like, I think this game looks nice, but a lot of elements, I just feel like I don't really get. It feels like to me every kingdom was meant to have their own like art styles, but then they gave up halfway through. Because honestly, I have absolutely no idea why New Donk City is like this kind of like garish, realistic looking city. But then most of the other worlds just kind of straight up look like Mario worlds. Like, yeah, the Luncheon Kingdom is kind of like a blocky aesthetic. And I'm gonna be honest, I don't give a shit about the Luncheon Kingdom. I think that one looks lame as hell. It's like, I get it, that's like its aesthetic, but none of its inhabitants look blocky. They all look like Mario characters. The Ruined Kingdom is kind of cool, you know, the fact that it's like this really dark, foreboding, like Dark Souls-esque thing. The Lost Kingdom has kind of like this weird vibe with like the trees. Like the trees are kind of like rubbery or plasticky looking. The Cap Kingdom kind of looks like a Nightmare Before Christmas world, I guess, but not really. Like it still looks like Mario, but like they go for like this, you know, very black and white, gray aesthetic. But that's about it. The rest of the game looks fairly similar across the board. I mean, it feels like there's kind of like a dial where it's kind of like, okay, like super cartoony or super realistic. And each kingdom kind of feels like, you know, they're kind of playing with the dial a little bit. Something like the Mushroom Kingdom looks very Mario-esque. But they go for like a more realistic style, or at least like with the grass, they make the grass a little more detailed, but it's all just kind of like a kind of a shitty looking texture. Same goes for the Cascade Kingdom. I mean, like, it's a little more realistic. That's where you get like your giant T-Rex, but at the same time, like, you know, a lot of this just kind of looks like Mario, but like more realistic. And then you have New Donk City, which looks nothing like Mario and is trying to be really realistic. But that also makes it kind of stick out. Like the humans in that stage look fucking awful. And you know, there's a couple of weird things I just want to mention graphically with this game. So, how about the snow from the Snow Kingdom? What's up with that, huh? Why does it work like that? When you go through the snow, like the snow kind of like, you know, will kind of crumble, but you know, like the top snow will stay up for a very long time, and then like it falls, but there's no animation for it. What the hell is going on with that? Or hell, in Bowser's Kingdom, there's like a bunch of these like flags that are just floating. They're just floating. I thought that was weird. Like, I'm just like, I know it's Mario. Things float in Mario. But it's also like, I just found that to be a little strange. Honestly, because like a lot of them are kind of hovering above like a certain like deathly goo or something. So it's just like, you could have just had them like popping out from the goo or whatever. Or some of them are just like, I don't know, they're just floating in the air. I don't know. It's weird. Overall, I still think the game looks nice across the board. It runs very well, and you know, everything is very finely detailed. I love a lot of the extra little touches they do. I mean, like, I was just messing around in the Mushroom Kingdom, and I was sitting in the fountain, and if Mario's at a certain angle, he will do like a certain animation, like the water is basically like pelting him on the back. He's like, oh, what the f. But of course, what about all of these different kingdoms? Which ones did I really like? Which ones didn't I care for? I'm gonna say right now, you know what I just did, the kingdom that I just don't really care to go to? It's the Seaside Kingdom. I don't know. I don't care about it. It's not an interesting thing for me to explore. It feels very barren, even though I know it isn't. It's so like wide. But like whenever I see this thing, like I'm not really thinking like, oh boy, I can't wait to just jump right into this and collect a bunch of moons and just see what there is. Like, no, I just don't really care. And honestly, Luncheon Kingdom is the same way. Both of those feel very empty to me, and they're both like 100 purple coin kingdoms, which is like, yeah, those are the bigger ones in the game. Obviously, the kingdoms that are mostly kind of reserved for little like intermissions and boss fights in Mario Odyssey, I wish those were a little bigger. They had a little more to do. Stuff like, you know, the Cap Kingdom. I do like the Cap Kingdom. I kind of wish there was more going on there, because, you know, that's where the fucking your partner's from. That's where Cappy is from. I think it would be a lot cooler if there was more to see and do in there rather than that just be a tutorial stage. Cloud Kingdom, Ruined Kingdom. You know, Ruined Kingdom is one you hear pretty much everybody go like, oh man, what if that was its own thing? And that's just the thing. Like, I think Mario Odyssey would have been even cooler if like all of the kingdoms went for like this incredibly different vibe, because you get these little nuggets of that, especially with the Ruined Kingdom, and the Ruined Kingdom is just a boss fight arena. That's basically it. There's barely anything else to do in it. You know, one of my favorites ever since launch, and like this one was always kind of like never anybody's favorite, the Lake Kingdom. I don't know, I do like the Lake Kingdom. It is a nice compact kingdom, which I kind of like them being a little more compact sometimes, because there's more to do in a more refined area. Like they're making the most out of like a smaller area. And I don't know, I do kind of like that. I do find myself kind of swooning over the 50 purple coin areas a little bit more, just because like it does feel like they kind of make the most out of the smaller area more than the bigger locations oftentimes kind of make do with their big size. A lot of them just kind of feel like there's a lot of empty space. Now obviously the Metro Kingdom, New Donk City, that's definitely a huge exception. You can tell like that was the one this game is entirely focused around. I mean, that's where like the big moment of like Jump Up Superstar plays through. And that is a very fun, enjoyable moment. It just feels like a big spectacle. But I mean, the kingdom itself, I mean, like, yeah, I mean, this is so perfectly designed as a Mario playground. It is really cool to see a lot of more city-like things recontextualized in a Mario playground kind of way. But I think what's kind of lame is the fact that the Art of Mario Odyssey art book showcased that there was concept art of this city looking a lot more like traditional Mario City. They wanted this to look kind of like a cartoony city, but then they decided against that and went for this realistic style. And I'm not trying to hate on this style. Obviously, I get the joke, and it's not like it looks like absolutely god-awful or anything. But again, I'm going like, if you're gonna make this city look like that, and a lot of the other kingdoms look silly realistic too, why not go all the way? Why are we doing this? Like, make every kingdom a unique art style. I think that would have been way cooler. Mushroom Kingdom is really great. Of course, that one is a lot more like just a genuine like sandbox. Like that is the most sandboxy area, because pretty much all of the power moons in that stage are just kind of like, I mean, they're obviously all optional. You just beat the game, so this is kind of just like a victory lap. Like, hey, just enjoy exploring the Mushroom Kingdom. I think that is super duper fun. And that's the best way to describe Mario Odyssey. You know, I do feel like Mario Odyssey, as much as all of its creative ideas kind of end up coming together in the end, and it creates a very great video game, I do kind of look at it and think about like all of the extra little things it could have done to be even cooler. You know, just think Galaxy 1 to Galaxy 2. Even though I prefer Galaxy 1, I love Galaxy 2. And Odyssey just kind of felt like it was just ripe for a sequel to just expand upon all these ideas, go even further. But outside of a couple updates, you know, they did Luigi's Balloon World, which was a very cool addition that kind of, you know, allowed you to get more out of these stages by hiding balloons and, you know, finding other people's balloons from all across the internet. But the thing is, with it being a free update, it turns it into this completely superfluous addition where it's basically just there to farm coins. I feel like if that mode was there from the start and the entire game was kind of like built with at least like that in mind, you could have had like a more substantial implementation of Luigi's Balloon World rather than just kind of like a fun little side thing to waste your time with. I mean, I guess you could consider something like Bowser's Fury to be kind of the successor to Mario Odyssey. You know, there's a lot of Mario Odyssey-esque things in that game. I mean, like, it reuses a lot of animations from Mario Odyssey, and the general setup can definitely be considered like a follow-up to Mario Odyssey, and kind of meshing it with some Mario 3D World mechanics and whatnot. And I really loved Bowser's Fury. I think, you know, if you enjoyed Mario Odyssey, you'll definitely enjoy Bowser's Fury. But I wouldn't really consider it to be like, oh yeah, the follow-up to Mario Odyssey, rather the game that followed up Mario Odyssey. And I find this game's legacy to be weird because you can see elements from it bleeding into other Mario games, much like how a lot of the mainline Mario games end up affecting like the spin-offs and whatnot. So like what? We got New Donk City in Smash Bros. Ultimate and Mario Golf Super Rush. I don't think Cappy has like appeared in like anything. Look at this Mario Wiki list of appearances. Technically he appeared in Mario Run first, as a statue. Then Mario Odyssey. He was an outfit in a Tycho arcade game. For some reason, they count Animal Crossing Pocket Camp and the complete version of Pocket Camp as 2 separate releases. They put eyes on Mario's hat in Smash Bros. Ultimate, so like, there you go. And then Ring Fit Adventure included Jump Up Superstar. That's about it. Why? I like Cappy. He's a fun character. You know what's a random little thing I like? And this is dumb. I don't even know why I like this. When you're in the Odyssey, moving between new stages, Cappy will like read up on like new moves you can do, or just like remind you like, hey, these are some moves that you can do. And he'll be like, oh yeah, have you ever tried a triple jump? Oh yeah, jump, jump, jump to the beat. And then after every single one, he just says, there it is. I like him saying, there it is. I don't know. I've always liked it. I remember revisiting it. I'm just like, oh, I remember. I just kind of like that line of his. But they give him a ghost form where he's a top hat, and you think that would make him perfect for something like Mario Tennis. But no. We got Pauline here, which is great. That's cool. I think it's really cool that they brought back Pauline in such a big way, and they kind of just recontextualized her part of the Mario universe. Just kind of tied a lot of things together more, which isn't important. I mean, it's goddamn Mario. But I think it just feels very rewarding and cool as a fan of these games who's played them ever since he was, you know, shitting his pants. What was that, 2 days ago? It is cool to see elements from like, you know, like the original Donkey Kong arcade game, you know, the first appearance of Mario, kind of contextualized in a way that makes sense. So it's just like, okay, well, yeah, that's, there she is. She's in the newest game, and this is what sets her apart from Peach or any of the other characters, you know? I think that's really cool. And Odyssey's legacy is definitely kind of really structured around like Pauline being a major character in a lot of the spin-off games now. You know, Mario Kart, she was in Mario Tennis, Mario Golf, Mario Strikers, she made her appearance in Super Mario Party Jamboree, a lot of stuff like that. And her main thing in a lot of those appearances is her singing. So, you know, that's kind of, that's a big part of Odyssey's legacy right there. They also incorporated a ton of Odyssey stuff in the Mario movie. You know, like a big part of that is Bowser's in love with Peach, and there is kind of like a forced wedding there, which was cool to see. You know, they hid that in a lot of like the marketing material, so seeing that, you know, in the theater was like, oh man, that's cool that they're incorporating the Odyssey stuff there. But when it came down to it, I was frankly sick of waiting around for an Odyssey 2, and I just decided to replay Mario Odyssey, and you know what? I'm happy I did. Shocker. Absolutely wonderful game. Now, is it the best Mario game? I think like when it first launched, it damn near felt like it. Upon revisit, I can tell this isn't a constant revisit kind of game. I think that joy of exploration, you need to kind of let this one sit for a little bit. It isn't as replayable as something like, let's say, Mario Galaxy or 64 or something. I mean, this thing was incredible when it launched, and a lot of that was kind of due to just that first time experiencing a lot of the fan service, a lot of the cool ideas they had, just that sense of wonder and joy you get from just stuff as a kid I got with Mario Odyssey when I first played that. I think it definitely does help to kind of stay away from it for a little bit, because I guarantee you, you know, if I jump right back into this game again, I'm gonna kind of feel like, all right, I just did a lot of this crap, which is true of most games. You know, I don't think a lot of games should be that replayable where you instantly can replay it again and it's like, oh yeah, this is just as good as before. But like Odyssey doesn't really have like a huge amount of like challenge with most of its stuff. So at the end of the day, you'd replay it to just be going through these giant worlds again and collecting like hundreds of moons by just like running into a rock or something. Like, you know, like you kind of need to let it simmer for a little bit. But if you do, I'm telling you, yeah, it's still good. Who would have thought? Of course, upon revisiting, I have not tried out the VR mode, and that's because I wanted to say mostly nice things about this game.